Welcome, everyone. I'm Maria Hedenborg, Marketing Director here at DoubleCloud. And with me today, I have our superstar in the US, Adam Jennings. Want to go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today?
Yep, thanks, Maria. My name is Adam Jennings, Senior Solutions Architect here in the United States, based in Indianapolis. So it's a little after 8 a.m. my time. Hope you're doing well around the world. Today's talk, we're going to talk about how to build some speedy data marts and why to leverage data marts. And then we'll touch a little bit on hybrid storage. And our goal is to get this all in under 20 minutes. We'll see if we can stick to that, Maria.
Yeah, well, it is all about being fast, right? So we're going to have to live up to that. Before we kick off, Adam, I always find it interesting just to get a little bit of a sense of the audience that we have here. So guys, we're just going to launch a quick poll now. So please go ahead and answer. We'll circle back to the poll results later. So feel free to answer. We only have 3 quick questions that we want you to answer to get a feeling of where you are in your journey within data marts. So that's open now. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks for doing that, Maria. I have a question for you. So why are you joining this webinar? What interests you in these speedy data marts or hybrid storage?
So I'm here not only to co-host and be here with you, Adam, but I'm definitely here because as a marketing leader, data is essential for my everyday work. So I am getting a lot of pressure, especially being in a startup, to prove ROI. I need to measure everything we're doing. We need to test a lot. We need to really be agile to be able to adapt to what's happening in the market. If a campaign is not working, we have to be able to change that really quickly. We depend on data and basically everything we're doing. And I know that goes for all my marketing colleagues out there. It's really important to be able to measure what you're doing. Cannot hide behind third-party in-person events anymore. The pandemic definitely learned us that. So if you look at it, data is just essential in any marketing activities that we're doing. We're looking at traffic into our website. We're looking at what are people doing when they actually go to the website. We're tracking all our paid social ads. All our marketing campaigns are being tracked with data. So if you look at things like funnel retention and you look at clickstream, it's really essential for us to have access to that. The reason I'm here today is actually not so much to be able to learn how to set up data mart, for instance. This is really for me to be able to build the internal business case. I am creating a little bit of frustration. I know if my data team was here, they will say that their Slack is just like on fire from morning to evening because me and my team were really pinging and asking questions all day long. We're waiting for dashboards to be updated. We're launching a new campaign and we just want answers to all our questions to be able to do better. And this is where it gets frustrating because we cannot get the answers we need in a really short amount of time. So I'm very curious today to learn about, what is we can do with all this data. We have a huge data lake. We have tons of data points. But why is it so hard to actually access this in a really optimized way? So that's why I'm here. I'm hoping you can teach us a little bit about that.
I definitely can. I think I can. So I think, if I go to this slide and we talk about, data, it's both the problem and the opportunity. It's a problem because we have all this data out there, right? There's the saying that, gold or data is the new oil, right? So it's more valuable than oil these days. But if you can't access it quickly like your team needs to, or you can't find the right data that you need, maybe your data lake isn't serving its purpose. And so, or it's serving one purpose, it's serving that single source of truth, but it's not serving some of the other purposes. And so, I find that with a data mart, we can add more speed to your data. So you put it in a system that is made for fast returning results. And so, type of OLAP kind of databases fit really well in this speed category because they're made for aggregating those queries that your team wants to see, and not unless so like a data lake. It also allows you to have speed because speed of finding data. So it's quicker because it's a slimmed down set of data when you move to that data mart. Security is also an issue here. So with security, you're only accessing the data the marketing team needs. So finance is going to need a different set of data than marketing, and their sales is probably going to need a little bit different than marketing, but maybe they need some of the finance data, right? So you tailor that data to the line of business that needs it. And so now you have a blast radius for your security because you're only accessing the data that you need.
So actually, Adam, there was just a question that came in about that from one of our attendees. So let me just
Yep.
read that. I have the data compliance rules in my data warehouse. How do I apply this to data marts?
Yep. So there's a lot of ways you can work this depending on your current tooling and your current architecture. You can leverage those compliance rules in your data warehouse and move, only the compliant data to your data mart. You can do things like with our warehouse or that we use for our data mart. You can do column or row level security. So you can do it either on the source or once you deliver it to the data mart. So say Maria, as the marketing director, you need a little bit more access. You can tailor that to your login so you have those extra rows or those extra columns, but maybe your team doesn't need that anymore.
Got it. I actually come from a cybersecurity background before I joined DoubleCloud, so
Okay.
This makes me sleep better at night. I'm really happy to hear that point.
Another great thing about data marts is the cost, right? So you think about data lakes, you have to spin up these resources to try to piece together all the different components that make up the data lake. So disparate data sitting in object storage usually for your data lake, or data warehouse where you're paying price per scan. So you're paying for that, scanning all that data. Well, how about we only scan the data we need for the marketing department? So if you're refreshing your dashboards, every 5 minutes, especially when you're launching a new campaign or end of quarter or whatever it is, when you're refreshing those dashboards, instead of scanning that whole data warehouse and using all those resources, scan only the data that you need that's being updated in your data mart. And so it provides a better cost versus performance ratio when you leverage data marts.
It's quite funny because I came across an article not long ago about sustainability and kind of green data.
Yep.
Because there is so much data out there, like you said, the value, that data is one of the most valuable assets in the world right now, and especially for companies. If you look at, you have two valuable assets. It's definitely the employees and the data, and there is so much data being stored that's not being used. So if you look at it from a green point of view, virtually, you actually only use the data. You only spend the time and resources on the data you need instead of just blasting everything out there. That goes across a lot of the focus we have at the moment.
Exactly. I like to hear that. I think one other good reason to use a data mart is the ease of use. So you set up tables for the end user. So while you're taking data out of that data lake or your other data warehouse that has the entire company's data, and you move it into a data mart, you transform that data and make it ready for analysis by the end users. And maybe those end users only need to see a few tables from your data warehouse or data lake. And so when you do that, it makes it easier for them to see the data they need to access, and makes them easier for them to build dashboards. So instead of that user looking for, the data they need and all the tables that are out there, maybe they only have to search through a few.
So that's where I can get a quicker answer to my questions. You circled back to that really, really nicely.
Yeah.
Basically, all this sounds great. What are the consequences if you don't look out for this? So what if I just went back, to my normal workday and continue the way I've been doing so far? What happens? What are you going to run into?
So I think what you run into is the opposite of these four. You don't have that speed of those queries. You have to set up some security rules in your data warehouse that may cause data leakage. You have that cost of running those dashboards, every 5 minutes, and now you're scanning petabytes of data, and now you're paying for that, right? And then the easy use, finding that data you need. So, I'm sure some of you out there have heard of, the coffee break queries, where you run a query and you go get a cup of coffee because you need to wait for the query to finish before you come back and check it. And so I think it causes a lot of disengagement from the employees and analysis and analysts when they have to do that, instead of, hey, let me get the data that I need now and not wait 5, 10, 15 minutes for that data.
Yeah, none of us can have so much coffee during the day. It doesn't work anymore.
Right.
It's the same as when we started working from home. You kind of lost out on all the coffee breaks and the water cooler chats. So
that's right.
Yeah, that's it. So basically, I'm guessing, it's hard today to find a company that's not business reliant on data. I'm guessing I'm not the only one who has these questions coming.
No, you're not. I have I think a good case study here on this next slide here, where we took a company that was leveraging BigQuery in their case for their end user analytics. And so they were refreshing these dashboards, and they're spending, $20,000, $30,000 a month on this data warehouse because they're continuously scanning that data because they have all these end users accessing the data directly. And so when you start looking at what those queries were from those end users, it was really just the last couple months of data that they were really querying. And we were able to say, well, let's move this data to something that, like a managed ClickHouse that we run, and let's not have them scan all those petabytes every time they're looking for some data. And let's put the data they need in that data mart, a couple tables streamlined for the use case. For in their case, they're multi-tenant. They have multiple customers, so they just had a table per customer, and it made it super easy for their customers to access the data they need without scanning all that data. And then, you look here on the right hand of this slide, we have our own visualization tool. You build out a connection, you build out a table that you want to reach, and just drag and drop to add some visualizations. You can even edit that with direct SQL if you would like to, but we don't limit you to that. So you can use other third-party tools. I think in their case, they had a mix of Tableau and Metabase that they were using. So, you can connect third-party tools directly to our data mart, and so they can stay familiar, keep their end users familiar with the tools that they were already using, saving them money on the end, making the performance better for their end users, and still leveraging the same end result product.
Fantastic.
One other thing I would like to mention about them, because they have those multi-tenant and those users, that they wanted to have that data prolonged for a longer period of time, they decided to leverage hybrid storage. And so this is the only slide I'll talk about for hybrid storage today. But they said, hey, we want to put that data in that data mart, but we want to retain it longer than those 3 months, but we don't want to pay the SSD pricing for that. And so they said, hey, what do you have for a solution? And so we've worked with upstream ClickHouse to, leverage some cool things within ClickHouse where you move data at a specific time. So after 1 month, we move it to object storage. Now the customer is paying less money for that query, because not that many of the dashboards hit more than 1 month old. So it gives better efficiency, but also there's nothing the end user has to change on their end, because the way that ClickHouse does the hybrid storage under the hood, it's transparent from a querying standpoint. It's only on table creation that it matters. So those dashboards don't need to change at all to leverage this hybrid storage. The queries are the same. They access data. They change the slider. They want to look back 2 months. Now it accesses that data from that object storage.
And what is the timeline for this, Adam? So if we want to build an internal business case, you're listening into this and you want to go home and talk to your team about a data project. What is the timeline? How do you build an internal business case? Who do you need to get on board this? I can take a few guesses. I know the marketing team will definitely be on board. How will the CTO, the CFO, the data teams react to a project like this?
Well, let me go back one slide then. I think this is a good one to show. You identify the data in your data lake that you want to have moved. You identify a couple key stakeholders. Hopefully some of you on this call are some key stakeholders that say, hey, I want to leverage the power of data marts. And you find that line of business that really that's forward looking, that wants to understand and wants to be quicker with their queries and better security and all the good things about data marts. And you identify that use case, you identify the tables, and you start moving that data. We have our built-in transfer service that we can use, serverless, kind of, mostly UI driven, not a lot of coding, to get data out of those data warehouses. So makes it easy to get that data in. So I think it takes a couple weeks of some dev time to really just say, hey, I'm gonna get this into a test environment. I'm gonna spin it up, and then we had this going in a couple of weeks for this customer, and then realizing the hybrid storage model, we really that took us a little bit longer because they already had data in there. So we had to be cautious because their end users were already using the data on the SSD. So we just wanted to not mess with any of the end user queries on those. So all in all, a couple weeks to a couple months, per line of business. And I think as you start using data marts, the next one becomes easier, because now you have a playbook and a run book, and you can say, this is what we did last time, this will work, this doesn't work. So just be in constant contact with your data engineering team, your line of business teams, and whoever the vendors are that's, running your data lake and your data mart.
And I'm guessing once you get started, this will kind of spread across, right? One team is leveraging one thing, and then you go out and you see the benefits of being able to visualize your data in this way. So start one place and then spread and share the experience internally as well.
Exactly. I mean, that data lake stays your single source of truth. Your data mart becomes that snappier, faster, easier to use version of the subset of the data. And so you're not harming the rest of the business by creating a data mart. So it's easy to do a line of business at a time or one department at a time.
Awesome. So Adam, we have a few questions, and we're just I promise to circle back on the QR code. So on the right, you'll see, I hope that's for your right as well and not mirrored, but we have one for the special offer. You can try out DoubleCloud with some additional starting credits, and no commitment, no credit card needed, registered needed to get started here. You can also book a meeting or a demo with Adam. So feel free to reach out to us there. We'll just go through some of the questions. And I also wanted to circle back to you, Adam, on the poll. So let me just end that now so we can see some of the results to our 3 questions. The first one was, are you currently using Data Mart? And we actually had 67% saying yes and 33% saying no. Is that a surprise to you?
No, I think people have realized that they need to, have that data mart as a way to access that subset of data fast for their end users. So I'm proud to see that 2/3. I hope that they're getting the performance out of their data mart. Feel free to reach out to me if you want some more advice or chat more about your data mart strategy. No, I think that's a good percentage.
And second question, are you using a data lake or a data warehouse? And we did you can answer one, both, or neither. So what are you guessing the majority was answering here?
I think in 20, most people have one or the other. They have a data warehouse that, their data engineering team has spent a lot of time curating, or they have a data lake that turns into a data swamp because everybody's just dumping data there. But I think majority of the participants will be using at least one, if not both.
Yeah, actually majority is both. So almost 100% are using both. Last one, are you leveraging different storage policies such as SSD or object storage? And that was a yes or a no. I'm going to let you guess there. What do you think the majority were answering, yes or no?
The way that I think we worded the question, it could be, a lot of people use backups and recovery kind of tools, and those have been around for a while, even in the days of on-prem data centers. Now that more and more are moving to the cloud, I think more and more people are familiar with object storage. I would guess that a majority are saying yes, that they're using a hybrid storage.
Actually, it was a majority of no. So what does that tell you?
I think that tells me we have
surprise.
Yeah, we have some work to do. I think there's tools out there that only use object storage as their backend for their data warehouse. And in those cases, I think you have worse end user performance because it has to go spin up that data from object storage. You have places that, I think back in Yahoo, they said if it was under so many gigabytes, put it in RAM, right? Because they wanted fast access to the data. So I think SSDs become that middle ground where you get decent access, decent recoverability, and decent price point. So I think there's some education needs to happen out there.
Well, that's what we're here for, isn't it? And Adam, I was actually timing us, and we are at 20 minutes,
Awesome.
below 20 minutes. So you made it. I'll find another price for you than the offer we're offering to our attendees today. But we still have a few moments to go through some Q&A. So we definitely want everyone, if you have any question, now is the time to type them in. I see there was already one question coming in. Can you replicate the data from data warehouse to data mart?
Yep. So whether it's a data lake, a data warehouse, we can replicate that data. I think, that's the idea, is that we get the data out of the data lake because of performance, but you also may want to get data out of your data warehouse for cost reasons. So in either case, you have that streamlined set of data that's tailored to that line of business. So yes, we can.
Fantastic. And the second one, what if my data warehouse sits on one cloud and yours on another?
So multiple ways of working with that. There's a lot of SaaS products out there, and so it's living in somebody else's cloud already, somebody else's computer. So, actually seeing that data becomes the same, going cross between clouds. I think it's not uncommon for some of the enterprises out there to have multiple clouds. So, yes, that can happen. There are smart ways to do it, and lower egress costs. So we can talk about that.
Yeah, and the next one is kind of related. Do you have connectors to all popular data warehouses?
Yep, we do, because DoubleCloud is founded on thinking about open source first. A lot of our connectors use Airbyte under the hood. So you think of connectors stable on Airbyte, we can leverage that as well. So those icons that I showed on that one slide were all currently supported, and we can add others as needed.
Okay, and the same kind of genre here. Can you collect data, your data mart from ERP systems such as SAP?
Yep, you definitely can. SAP makes it a little harder to get the data out, but you can export the data and then pick it up from object storage, things like that. Is SAP your single source of truth, or are you delivering that to somewhere else that becomes your data warehouse, that becomes your single source of truth? So I just be careful about sending data intermediate steps along the way. So I would say if you have a different data lake or data warehouse as your single source of truth, send the data there, and then we can pick it up for your data mart, just so that you don't start having this data swamp in your ecosystem.
Sounds good. So Adam, we want to wrap up now. Thank you, everyone, for all the questions. And
thank you.
Any last words you want to give to our attendees on how to get started? It's easy.
It's easy. Like I said at the beginning, I don't know if everybody had been on yet, but that's additional starting credits. If you do that QR code, there's no credit card required, and you don't even have to put your credit card in. It's as long as you have a new email address that you're signing up with, we'll give you the credits, and spin up your clusters. And if you have any questions about doing that, use the left QR code, reach out to me and book a meeting.
Sounds good, Adam. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Adam, especially. I learned a lot, so I will definitely bring up this subject when I have my next meetup with my marketing peers and colleagues. All right, thank you, everyone, for joining, and we're going to leave this QR code here for just a second in case anyone want to scan before we jump off.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.